So we need a transmission pan for our transmission, but not just any transmission pan.
A double deep one.
But we're not gonna go to the store and buy one. We're gonna make one. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope y'all have been following along with the truck build. And as you know already, we are diving into this transmission. But our factory transmission, the pan got chewed up by the front drive shaft. I don't want to use the old 47RE pan because it is dented in the bottom. And I would ultimately like a double deep transmission pan, but I don't want to go to the store and buy one. So we are going to make one. So I started attacking this in kind of a way a little bit too fancy and overthought about drawing out the whole outline and then transferring everything over to CAD and then cutting it out on CNC plasma cutter. I know a lot of y'all at home don't have access to those kind of tools. So I thought to myself, this would be a perfect opportunity to for us to do this the old-fashioned way, and just trace it out on a piece of metal and then cut it out and hand fabricate everything. So let's jump over here and see what we got. All right, so what I got here is just a piece of 1/4 inch, I think it's 6061 aluminum. So we're just gonna kind of go through this and do this the old-fashioned way, how any of y'all would do this at home. So like I had originally done on my paper template, and I mentioned doing it this way, we're just gonna lay our gasket out here and trace around it. All right, so we got our gasket traced out here. So what we'll go ahead and do is cut out the outside of it and drill our holes. Once I get the flange cut, I want to bolt it up to the transmission and bolt up the valve body so we know that we are clearing everything on the valve body, because that's really all that we're worried about. Guys, this concept can be transferred over to any other transmission. You know, engine oil pans as well. I've made one other engine oil pan kind of like this, doing this same method as well. She fits on there, and we have 2 holes right here that we might have to address with a helicoil. The bolts aren't really wanting to go in straight there, but so we got this bolted up. So now I'm gonna bolt up the valve body. I'm gonna take this plate off, bolt up the valve body, and we'll see how we can trim the inside of this pan. So going by what I'm looking at here and referencing some of the other fabricated pans, what we'll probably do is just come straight across this top. Might even go straight into this angle here. So just one bend right there, one more bend right here, go completely straight here, 45 it across this corner right here, straight across the bottom. And then some of the other pans have a slight bend right here because we have to clear where the dipstick tube comes in here. And then we'll angle back right here, slide angle, angle back up, and then we'll do a 45 across this corner as well. All right, so this is going to be our shape that we're going to cut out on the interior. So what I want to do is I want to get really fine corners, because our cutout in the center is going to be the bottom of our pan. So it's going to take a little bit more time, but we got to be really careful when we get to these corners. I can't, drill any holes or overshoot my cut. So what I'm going to do is take the angle grinder and try to cut in between the cuts and make them pretty straight, and then I'll finish off the corners with the jigsaw. And then this corner here, we got to keep that radius right there, because if we cut straight into the corner, we would lose our sealing capabilities right here. So for the most part, we got to keep that radius corner. So we'll have to get creative whenever we weld this on the bottom, but with weld we can fill. So I'll just have to be, pretty meticulous with the jigsaw right there. So let's go ahead and get into cutting out this center section. So all around our trans looks pretty good. All right, so with these, how close everything has to be, I'm probably gonna have to use some sort of socket head bolt, but everything seems to clear. And it looks pretty good. All right, so we got our factory pan right here, and it looks to be about 3 inches deep. And most of the aftermarket pans say they hold roughly 4 quarts more, so we might see how much this holds. And it's probably about 4 quarts, so it's probably why they call it a double deep pan. So if this one's 3, we're probably gonna do a 6-inch deep pan. All right, so that's 4 quarts there. We got a hole right here, but that's 4 quarts there. So honestly, we probably could go really 5 inches would add us another 4 quarts, or 5.5. I don't know what we'll do. We're gonna go with 5.5 inches deep. So I'm gonna try to zip off 2 5.5-inch pieces right here. All right, so we got our end squared off of our piece of metal. So now I'm gonna start taking some measurements and finding some of the angles so we can start making some bends. And to find the angles, they should be close to, 45, but just to get the exact angle so we're not doing too many, bend, check. I'm just gonna try to find the angles with this, old school, elementary school protractors. So we'll be able to find our angles here, and I'll just measure to the bend point, scribe on there, make a bend, hold it up there, and I'll probably just hold the piece of metal up here to mark our next bend. So let's get into it. That's what happens when you try to bend 60-61, I suppose. Well, it looks like I found the limitations of the I believe this stuff is 6061. It's been a while since I bought it, and it was scrap when I bought it. I can't really see any markings. So well, looks like we're gonna have to step back in front. So we got a little bit of a 50-52 here at work, which I know we can slap a 90-degree bend in it, no problem. So I might see if I can buy a little, or just snag just a little bit for us to do these sides with. All right, so we got us some 50-52. So let's give this another shot. Flip the piece of metal upside down in the press and just give it just a little bit, just by hand feel. All right, there she is. We got a little bit of gaps right here, which that's probably from the bends, the stack up of the bends not being perpendicular over a little bit of time, but it's nothing we can't persuade and then, you know, fill some gaps if we need to. But that's pretty much her. I want to get the transmission in here and actually bolt the flange up to it before I tack anything. So we'll do that next. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go ahead and tack the bottom piece to the sides, and then it should be a little bit easier for us to persuade that to the flange. So we're gonna start by tacking these side pieces to the bottom. Sorry, I got a phone call whenever I started tacking this and the camera stopped rolling, but we got the bottom of the pan tacked up. So let's go ahead and try to fit it to our flange. All right, got it all bolted down, and you can see it pulled the flange flat to it, and now we got a couple gaps that we're gonna have to fill, which is very minimal. I need to drop another bolt right there. Thing looks pretty freaking sweet if you ask me. Very, very tight gaps. That's definitely key whenever you're doing any sort of TIG welding. You want to make it look good. This thing, so what I'll do is probably start right here, weld up to this bolt, take it out, weld up to this bolt, take it out, and then, you know, as I make it past the hole, I'll put the bolt back in just to keep everything clamped down. And we'll probably work our way around the pan, maybe weld a little bit right here, jump down here, come back up here, weld, and then finish it off. And then we'll come around and weld our top piece back on. So let's go. All right, so we got our bottom part of our flange welded up. I'm no perfect TIG welder, but say I can pull my own weight. So let's go ahead and jump into getting the top side welded up. Alright, so we got her all fully welded up. I'm happy with it. So now we need to make us a drain plug, and then I also want to make a block here with probably 3 MPT tap ports, so you know we can throw I don't know, any sort of instrumentation, you know, mainly just a thermocouple for trans temp. All right, so we turned this down a little drain port boss, and I went ahead and drilled and tapped it for a helicoil, so we don't have to worry about aluminum threads ever stripping out. So let's go ahead and get this cut off, weld it on, and throw in our helicoil. Here at work, we throw away these GM drain pan bolts. So snagged one out the trash that we'll use, and we got our helicoil in there. So we got steel on steel. We'll have a nice little drain plug. And for the bottom, you could just leave this plain aluminum. It wouldn't hurt anything. But if you wanted a little bit of like a heat sink, you could use some kind of channel like that. Maybe, you know, weld several of them across the bottom and kind of angle the corners down and just do, you know, either full length welds or little stitch welds all the way down. That would probably give you a little bit of heat sink. But we are going to do something a little bit special. We cut this little plate out on the plasma cutter. And I'm building this transmission, so it's a Huey build. So we're going to weld this on the bottom of it. I'm going to weld the perimeter of it, and then these little thin slots right here, I might weld every single one of them, so every other slot I'll weld it, or I might you know, weld one, skip one, weld one, skip one, weld one, skip one, weld one, like that. So we'll see how long it takes once I get into welding it, but we're going to go ahead and weld that. That'll be a little bit of a heat sink, and then, you know, looks pretty good. That was a pain in the butt, so let's go get it cooled off, and then we'll start hitting it with the flap disc. All right, guys, our pan 100% finished. and I am satisfied with it. Kind of on the fence on giving it a paint job, maybe like a satin black, and then coming back and sanding this back smooth so you could see all the texture and the lettering and everything. But we went back and did a counter bore on all our holes just to clean up the weld, and welded these pieces and then ground them back smooth just to try to get a little bit of heat sink. But it was a pain in the butt, I will say that, but it looks good. All turned out in the end. We got our 3 ports right here, you know, for instrumentation. Thermocouple is definitely going to go in one of them. We got our drain plug with the Healy coil already in it, so we don't have to worry about stripping that out. And we also went around and welded this inside lip for the most strength right there at the lip, where it's gonna, you know, I mean, it's gonna be holding 8 quarts of fluid in there. So it should be pretty strong. But y'all drop a comment down below and let me know what y'all think. Let me know what y'all think of the name too. I kind of like it. So it looks pretty dang good. All right, guys, and that's gonna wrap up this video of us building the transmission pan. I appreciate y'all following along if y'all have made it this far in the video. And stay tuned in some of the upcoming videos. We're not gonna install it on the trans in this video, but once I get the trans built, we will install it then right before we put it in the truck. And I'm sure it's gonna look excellent. So y'all also be looking forward to that paint job that we're gonna be putting on the transmission as well. So again, I appreciate all of y'all watching. Drop a comment down below and let me know what y'all think of the build. And hit that like button and subscribe if you are not already. And we'll catch you on the next one.